If there are listeners out there that are hesitant of building a tech startup, I would just say to them, you don't need to have a tech background, or as long as you are really an expert on solving a big problem that you want to solve, and you can build a team around it that with skills that they have,
Hmm.
that is also fine. So I think there is more women in the corporate world that have a lot of experience, and they saw a big problem somewhere during their career or keep seeing it, and now they can start their own business and really solve that problem. So I just would encourage them to not look at the 2% statistics, because that would be discouraging, but they don't need to be discouraged. They can definitely go after their dreams and build the company that they want to build.
Welkom bij Women Disrupting Tech. Mijn naam is Dirk-Jan Hupkes en in deze podcast ga ik op ontdekkingsreis in de wereld van vrouwen in de technologiesector. Ik ga in gesprek met vrouwen die in tech werken of oprichter zijn van een tech-startup. Ik ga op zoek naar het antwoord op de vraag hoe zij er wel in geslaagd zijn om succes te hebben. Met andere woorden, hoe zij de technologiesector disrupten. Luister je mee? Hey, welcome back to episode 26 of Women Disrupting Tech. Part of a go-to-market strategy is finding a way to get your product in front of customers. My own experience is that this is often the point that can make or break your product launch. Because building an innovative product is one thing, getting it in front of the people who are willing and able to help you sell it is an extremely inefficient and costly exercise. You need to go to trade shows, contact trade associations, do cold calling, and even when you do everything right, you just have to hope that they don't leave your business card in the hotel or forget you called. Now, this is where the company of Nancy Shenouda comes in, because Tradesnest.com connects brands who have innovative products with distributors and retailers. Tradesnest.com co-founder Nancy Shenouda uses her experience with L'Oreal and Unilever to build a disruptive online platform that takes the hassle out of distributing your innovative products. In this episode of Women Disrupting Tech, Nancy and I will explore her journey building an online platform that services an ecosystem that is traditionally offline. Nancy will explain how she is building two companies in one, how she leverages her experience, what's it like to get funding for your B2B SaaS startup as a female co-founder, and how she celebrates successes with her diverse team. Please make sure you stick around till the end, as Nancy has some encouraging words for those of you who are thinking about founding a tech startup. And please welcome to Women Disrupting Tech, Nancy Shenouda. Okay, welcome, Nancy. Good to have you on the show. First question I ask every guest at the start of the interview is how you got into your current job or how you got into your current position.
Yes, thank you there, Kian. Glad to be here. So, yeah, I've always wanted to become an entrepreneur, and when going after this dream, then I wanted to really solve a big problem. And during my whole career, I was looking for that big problem. Like, what is it? Something that I could really solve, something that is not happening in the market, and what could be an improvement to that. So basically, I started my career in North America in the food and beverage business,
Mm-hmm.
having 40 clients in North America. Major retailers, Walmart, Costco, CVS, all those types of retailers, and I learned really what retailers there were looking for, to get a product listed. So this was really an interesting experience. And then I moved back to Europe and started working for Unilever, and then after to L'Oreal in positions as like key account manager. And so I've always been in B2B corporate sales. And I only later when I went to a startup in consumer electronics, I realized the game changes when you want to get your product listed at major retailers. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where I found a big problem in the market. Having experience working directly with retailers, switching to distributors, I saw that this was totally not easy. And I set out to build Tradesnest, which is a B2B SaaS enabled marketplace to help innovative emerging brands scale their product overseas and getting their products listed at major retailers across the globe, basically. So that's what we're doing now for the last few years. And yeah, Tradesnest is what I imagined it would be. It's happening now, and yeah, very excited about that.
Good. So, if I understand the problem correctly, basically getting the right distributor for your, in your case, it's consumer electronics product,
Mhm.
is difficult if you're not part of a big brand. So,
Correct.
like L'Oreal or Unilever, they have their own direct access to retailers, but what happens if you don't, if you don't have the brand, if you don't, if you're just, well, maybe not just starting out, but at least have conquered one market and want to transfer to another, what happens
Yeah,
then?
exactly. Like you say it, Unilever and L'Oreal, they have huge marketing budgets. They're huge brands, and they can push a product on the market before it even, like
Mm-hmm.
really goes on retail shelves. So when they talk to retailers, they're excited to have their products on retail shelves, or at least easier. And so they tell, we're going to do this with the brand. It's going to be on TV. It's going to be in magazines. It's going to be there and there. So a retailer is excited taking on that new product range, and then because it's going to drive traffic. But a small company with one product, that even they have success with that product in their local market,
Mm-hmm.
going to a retailer that, yeah, without that marketing budget and spend behind it, they're going to be, okay, are we willing to take that risk? Are we going to give that space? What is it going to really do for us? And so they are not inclined to really take on that call and meeting with this small brand, because
Uh-huh.
they just, setting up the whole distribution and negotiation and everything, it's just too risky for them if it really will sell well in stores. So they prefer to work with distributors for them to handle that whole process, the distribution, and checking if the product has really got that traction and is market ready.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I noticed. It doesn't matter which industry you're in, basically, whether you're food and beverage or you're FMCG or personal care or consumer electronics. At the end of the day, it's more the size of the company and the product that they're bringing on the table. So bigger companies have that power to go sit with the retailers, and the smaller companies, they don't. So they need to go through the distribution partner of that
Uh-huh.
retailer to get their product listed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I understand correctly, it's also, it's not necessarily only about the access to have really getting to in front of the right people, but it's also about having the marketing budget to really create the demand for your product in a
Yeah.
market.
Yeah. I mean, of course, if a brand is so, so, so popular, online or in other places, and the retailer thinks, okay, if I don't get that product on my retail shelf, then I'm going to miss out, then it's a different story. But most brands, I mean, they have normal traction, and let's say they're not going to be, that exciting for a retailer to be chased by them to get their products listed.
Yeah.
So distributors is the way to go. And the thing with distributors, they're really, really hard to find. So you don't know who are the distributors of this major retailer. And so finding them is really hard. And that's where, companies end up going and spending a lot of money on different ways to get in front of those distributors. And that's a challenge.
Yeah. So how do you leverage your experience while working for brands like L'Oreal and Unilever then?
Well, I know what retailers, so the end goal looks like. So I know what retailers want and what they look for in a product. And then,
Hmm.
so when I started working with distributors, I knew how to select the right distributor because we were able then to make sure the distributor gets what we want to achieve and goes that path. And this is something that many companies don't know really how the process looks like,
No.
so they don't know what the end goal is, so they can work with maybe someone that promises them things but doesn't really will deliver on that. So we as with my experience working with retailers, I knew what the end goal was, so I selected a distributor based on that.
So that's actually the one of the problems you're solving. You're putting the a company in front of the right distributor. You're
Correct. Yep.
plugging the product into the right distribution channel to get them in
Correct.
the shelf space they need.
Correct.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, traditionally this is done through trade shows and through trade associations, and that sounds like a lot of work, a lot of investment, a lot of risk that you have to take also as if you produce a consumer electronics product or a fast moving consumer good. Um, how do you take that whole process from offline, because it sounds really offline? How do you take that from offline to online, except for the obvious Zoom meeting?
Right. So we built, therefore, a platform. So we are a
Hmm.
B2B marketplace. And when it starts with who do we allow to get on the platform. So
Hmm.
we only allow brands with traction and market ready product to come on the platform. So cannot be a Kickstarter brand that is just, starting out, not knowing how the product will go or traction, or even in sometimes not having a product that is already produced. So we cannot allow them. And
Hmm.
then so focused on really companies that have good traction with their product. And then we allow distributors to come in that we know really who's their retail network, and what can they bring to the table. And so we have all these aspects to look for in the distributor that we allow on the platform. Um, and then trade shows, what happens is many companies go there indeed with the first reason. Actually, 70% of studies say that they go there to meet distributors and retailers, is to get their product directly in front of them. But
Hmm.
this is really a costly venture. So you can spend 30, 40, 50, all the way up to 100,000 easily for the booth space, the booth setup, the
Uh-huh.
flights, the hotel, everything, and then all with the hope to meeting the right people. But these people are not all pre-vetted, so you don't know when you meet people in person who they really are. You can only find that out later. So what we do is we have that whole qualification happening on the platform, and we do it in a very cost effective way, so companies don't have to risk huge capital to get their product in front of the right buyers. And with Tradesnest, we tell them exactly this is the buyer in that market, focusing on this product, working with these retailers, and that would be a good fit for you. So then of course at some point it has to be them meeting in person, but first it can be all done online, and then they can set up calls and video calls, and then at some point if that is a potential of $1 million, then definitely at some point you meet in person. But it doesn't have to be in that first round trying to get your product in front of those buyers.
Okay, so you're actually also de-risking the companies who create these smaller brands with consumer electronics, because you're
Correct.
taking, well, you're not de-risking them, you're putting the risk where it belongs at the end stage.
Yeah, the financial risk.
Yeah,
So we're
financial
talking
risk.
about return on investment. So when you go and spend 40, 50,000, and you think your product is ready, but in reality it's maybe not completely ready. It's not like seen to be market ready. Selling a product online has different criteria than selling a product on retail shelves. And what businesses realized at some point is that 85% of all retail sales globally happens in stores. So they all start with direct to consumer, which is good. And
Mm-hmm.
then they start going to marketplaces. That's fine. But at some point, that's only 15% of the market. So you need to get into big volumes in retailers.
Hmm.
And that's where then they think, okay, we have to go to trade shows and we need to spend this money to get in front of them. But it's not needed and it's not necessary. So companies that have risked a lot of capital, didn't get return on investment, they are so happy that Tradesnest exists because they wish they have done that before going to spend so much money on a trade show. Again, we don't say don't do any trade show. We just say it doesn't have to be that first step. It can be later on when you're purposing yourself more in a marketing way, but you can get in front of buyers in a much more cost effective way.
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, you started Tradesnest as a global company right from the
Mhm.
start.
Yeah.
Uh, why did you choose to do that?
Yeah, so good question. So many companies that start out with their product, they obviously start that in their local home market, and
Hmm.
they do online, and then maybe they have already some via some retail connections, and then they get their products on retail shelves. But then they are like, okay, we need to scale, and scale is growing overseas. So how do you go about that? So you can spend a lot of money on marketing research and doing testing, but you can also really get your product in front of these buyers in, let's say, an American company wanting to enter Germany, and then they don't know the German market very well. They don't know the language. They don't
Hmm.
know how the retail works there and the margins that they ask for. So having a local partner in that country can really help you with all of that. And having said that, so every company has different needs. So a company in US that wants to enter certain markets can be different than a European company in Denmark wanting to reach other markets. So
Hmm.
why we're global from day one is because everybody's needs is different. And at the end of the day, every brand wants to grow, as you know, get market share and grow their business in new markets or across the world. So that's the reason we were global from day one.
Okay. And your product also has its own AI solution embedded,
Yes.
right? Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yes, we're very excited about that. We just launched it last May, and that is our own proprietary AI technology, which means that there's nothing on that like that on the market. Meaning
Hmm.
that we have tested our own, data internally on the platform from brands and distributors who were a match, but also taking into account distributors how they purchased before with their data, like what products they are distributing, what price points, and many other data points, and then putting that all together. Now we can actually take on a new brand coming in with their product. They make their product page on the platform, and now we can pinpoint exactly which distributor in which market they need to go after, and that for us is already something that saves them a lot of time and money, not knowing that information before and now having that option with Tradesnest.
Yeah, but I can also imagine that for let's say if you want to enter a new market, it's also a great market research tool.
Yes, definitely. I mean, you still need to do your own market research, seeing, not every product is fitted for every other market. Like if you have a snowmobile, it wouldn't work in Saudi Arabia, or UAE. But if you have, a product that it could be fitting for on a global level, like a mobile accessory product, okay, then now these partners in these countries are really big buyers in that field, and they love these types of products, so getting your product in front of them just increases the chances.
Yeah, I can imagine. I want to switch tracks a bit, just because I was really curious. We're getting into funding in a bit, but building an AI solution, finding the right problem, starting out as a global company right off the bat. What has been your biggest challenge in the startup journey, aside from the funding?
Yeah, that would definitely be. Every marketplace has the same challenge, and that is to solve the chicken and egg problem.
Hmm.
And that is, yeah, that's a real problem because, in a sense, you have to see marketplace. Some people even say marketplaces, you have to see them as building two separate companies as a whole. So you're having totally different buyer personas, and you
Uh-huh.
have to target to them different. The whole workflow on the platform is different. So you're building two businesses in one.
Yeah.
And building that, you need to have supply and demand, having the two sides of the equation, because you cannot have brands coming in not seeing enough distributors, and not distributors coming in not seeing enough brands. So we had a first soft launch, and then we had a bigger launch when we had solved that. And yeah, we bootstrapped that all the way in the beginning. So we put in our own money and on or and our resources in it, and time a lot before we even went after funding.
Okay. What was that on purpose, by the way, that you bootstrapped?
Not per se on purpose, but we just noticed that investors were like hesitant. How are you going to solve that chicken and egg? How are you going to do that? So we felt if we proved that first, we would have a better valuation, a better negotiation proposition. So we solved that
Hmm.
first. We had the enough brands and distributors on both sides, and then we even had a paying customers coming in, and so we knew, that that would be strong enough to go after our first funding round.
Did it indeed make it easier to get funding?
The
To,
more you can prove your business idea, there is demand for it, and people want to use it, and people register on it and pay even for it. Yeah, definitely, it will
okay.
make things a little bit easier. Yeah.
Okay. So getting funding is one thing. It's difficult by default. I think it's a lengthy process with all kinds of risks involved, and
Hmm.
but it's even more difficult for female founders and mixed teams. So, what has your experience been with this with getting funding?
Yeah, I think it's not easy for any company in general, but and I cannot compare what it is like for a male founder, but what I can see is that yeah, we needed to show more tractions, I would think,
Hmm.
than because you do see again like articles online that three male founders that don't have created a product yet, that didn't have any traction yet, no paying customers, nothing really, like an idea, and they
Hmm.
would get often huge funding. And then where you see maybe other groups, again because female founders has not been known to get 2% of all total VC money, then you would see that they have to show more, prove more, to even get the first round. So um, I do believe that when you set your mind on doing something and achieving something, it's at
Uh-huh.
the end of the day a numbers game. Just make sure you spend your time efficiently, and just go and speak with more VCs and investors in general, and just try to see what is needed, and keep adjusting your pitch, or work further on your product to be able to show them exactly what they're looking for, and then you should be able to succeed.
Hmm. And do you think have you experienced any form of bias from investors? Like, oh, she's a
Um,
woman, so.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, if we got that really, because you're just seeing more the statistics and what are the red flags to watch out for. And of
Uh-huh.
course, we got all those red flags in the beginning, like when they ask for financials maybe right away, then maybe that's just brushing you off. But at that time, you don't know, so you do actually spend time sending financials
Hmm.
and spending a lot of time on it without, like you would have preferred to got a no, so that you can actually spend your time better, because
Yeah,
one
move
thing,
on.
yeah, one thing founders don't have is time. We have to
Yeah.
do so much. And so don't yeah th- those are the mistakes that I had in the beginning, that you're just not understanding the no's, because the no's are so disguised. You don't
Mhm.
understand them, so you do spend time with investors, sometimes in the wrong way. And I don't know if that, again, if that happens to male founders, but I'm sure it happens to all founders.
Yeah.
But everybody has biases for sure. And another statistics that you read about is basically women get more negative kind of questions, which kind of continues the conversation more in a negative tone. Well, like, do
Yeah.
you really think that this idea would work? And then male founders, what you read again from statistics, is that they get more positive type of questions. So about their mission and how do you see this work, etc. And then so setting the tone in a call with an investor is really, are you going in the right direction? And
Yeah.
so that's one thing that studies have shown, that women do get more hesitant questions about their mission and their product and idea.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily because their product is less good.
No, no.
Okay. Do you have some sort of because I you told me that you're planning on raising money again. Is there
Mhm.
some sort of ideal profile for an investor that you would like to attract?
Yeah, so we raised last year from three investors, really great investors, because we know those investors are backing us, and we know now what a good investor looks like, and not a good one.
Hmm.
We are planning to raise later on another round, which is the seed round, and yeah, what I'm looking for now in investors is obviously what can they bring to the table. So, do they have a certain network? Ideally, for us, retail network. Do they have maybe an AI background? Do they know B2B marketplace in the retail sector type of thing? Whatever it is that they bring to the table, that is always good. But for me, I always look now for that, yeah, that click. And that click is like they either can recite you back,
Hmm.
your their excitement about your product and your how you are planning to disrupt a certain industry,
Uh-huh.
or they just love your team, and they are so impressed by what you've done, and something has to have like a certain excitement, and I see that when you have that click, and so yeah, that's what we're looking for.
So it's a combination of a click, but also then, let's say, very specific knowledge, or
Yes,
at least an understanding of the market that you're operating in, understanding
exactly.
your where you come from,
Yeah,
how you're approaching the problem, and how you want
yeah.
to solve it.
So either B2B SaaS enabled marketplaces, or AI SaaS VC, so they know, the platform more, the tech part, like what are, great insights that they have in that field,
Hmm.
or they have a retail, in our case, retail sort of network, so they understand the industry. But something, yeah, either from the tech or from the industry, that's what we would love to have on the table.
Okay. Um, So we talked about diversity in a, let's say, less positive sense with investors, because it's not really. Did you meet many female investors, by the way, so
Yeah.
far?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there are all great groups of VCs that are focused only on female. So you have some in Netherlands, some in Germany, some in UK, and yeah, I've spoken with them, and they're great. Yeah, I think what they're working on and their mission is really to to level the playing field a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, great, definitely.
Okay. Uh, Back to your own company, your team. It's quite diverse. I noticed on the website. Was that always the intention? Was it by design, or was it just something that happened?
No, it's just kind of something that happened. I mean, you are conscious of certain biases, and I am a female founder, and I have an ethnic background, and so when you look at getting the best people, is a certain criteria I look at. It's not per se their experience, because I believe everybody can learn
Hmm.
new things, but it's really that not accepting a no for an answer and just going after and getting the job done, no matter
Yeah.
whatever they have to do to get it done.
Uh-huh.
And you do see that diverse teams are able, because they sometimes have different cultural backgrounds or traveled or lived in different countries and whatnot, they have that, to get to where they have to where they were before, they had to go through a lot of different obstacles to get where they wanted to go. And
Hmm.
so that is something that, yeah, we're proud we have the diverse team. We're now a team of 10, and we have people from US, Indonesia, Eastern Europe, Canada, Netherlands, Spain. So we're really excited that we are bringing all these different knowledge into the company,
Yeah.
male and female.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you also celebrate that in some way, shape, or form? The diversity.
Yeah, I mean, I like to highlight it in the sense of like when we do social media posts or something, we
Uh-huh.
like to give the team members, the opportunity to tell how their experience is and what they're doing to really change, disrupting this industry that we're
Uh-huh.
in, because that's really what we're most excited about, that we are now giving opportunity to brands to really have a higher chance of success getting their product distributed around the world, in an easier way and in an affordable way. So that is something that was not before easy, because it was for the big companies. They were
Hmm.
able to have that money and budget to grow faster. And
Uh-huh.
now we're giving that access to the smaller and emerging companies as well.
Yeah. Does it also help, since you're operating on a global scale, that you have a more diverse background in terms of nationalities, in terms of how people solve certain problems?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, the thing is with working with global companies. Every company in a different country or market, they have different problems. Let's say so.
Hmm.
Understanding them a little bit better, that always is good. And how people communicate in China, or how people communicate in US, or how people communicate in UAE or South Africa or Australia is always different as well. So it's great when I speak to all kinds of companies, and really also having in the back of my mind, what are the best ways of communicating.
Yeah.
But our most important dominant territories are actually US and Europe at the moment.
Okay. So I have this arrangement with Jacqueline van den Ende
Hmm.
that this podcast will be obsolete, or at
Yeah.
least a lot less relevant in 10 years from now.
Mhm.
Any advice on how to get that done?
Well, I mean, you always wish, that that indeed in X amount of years, hopefully sooner rather than later, that we don't have this inequality anymore, and that
Hmm.
the 2% is not 2%; it's like 20, 30, 40 in the coming years. So, but to really do that, things have to change, obviously. So every woman that have capabilities to invest, they should try to step up in that field, and try to get into that game. That will definitely help. But also current VCs should have more diverse teams. And yeah, and last is like when you introduce more things for like unconscious bias trainings for these companies, they can be maybe more aware of how certain things can be perceived when you ask a certain question. So it is important that we all push forward more female entrepreneurs in general, but
Hmm.
at the same time, from the money side, there should also be more influx of money coming in.
Yeah. Oh, that last bit I cannot influence. I don't have the money for that, but I can create a platform. So what I hear you say is basically that if we create a platform together, that it's at least that's part of the visibility will help.
Yes, definitely. And then that's it. More accelerators, more VCs, more all of that that are focused on female entrepreneurs. That's always more welcome.
Do you think we need some sort of quota or regulation more in general?
I mean, I don't want to have an investor investing for me to hit a quota. That would be for me an insult. So of course, I want them to invest because they really believe in me and the team and in our
Hmm.
company and our mission and what we're planning to do and how we are going to go and do that and all of that. You want them to believe in you and not just that they have we need to invest in X amount of female entrepreneurs. Okay, we'll go for them, but no. So that's obviously that would be not a good thing. You want an investor on board to help you and not just be forced to invest in you. No, so
Yeah,
that how much I would like it in a sense, but I know the effect would not be a good outcome.
it would go the wrong way.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for the conversation. Really appreciated it. Is there anything you want to come back to that you didn't mention or that you?
No, I would, if there are listeners out there that are hesitant of building a tech startup, I would just say to them, you don't need to have a tech background, or as long as you are really an expert on solving a big problem that you want to solve, and you can build a team around it that with skills that they have,
Mhm.
that is also fine. So I think there is more women in the corporate world that have a lot of experience, and they saw a big problem somewhere during their career or keep seeing it, and now they can start their own business and really solve that problem. So I just would encourage them to not look at the 2% statistics, because that would be discouraging, but they don't need to be discouraged. They can definitely go after their dreams and build the company that they want to build.
Yeah, and the only way to change the 2% is to at least
Yeah,
found as many female startups as we can. Then
yeah.
at least from the supply side of it's no longer an issue.
Yeah, but I do
So,
believe that there's now also a lot of good female founders
mhm.
at the moment. So, and I know many of them, and I think that they're amazing. And it's not an excuse to be now at the 2% because there are also
No,
really good ones now.
no,
Enough, supply there, but more is always better. That's
yeah,
all I'm trying to say, so that you don't hear the excuse that there is not enough. I think that there is you know a lot of already now on the market doing amazing things.
absolutely. And yeah, I met a few of them myself. We both know Arosha Brouwer, and
Yeah.
she's also not a techie. She's
No. Yeah. She has
she
the industry knowledge,
yeah,
and she's amazing. And I met her at an event in November of our investor there, and she's amazing. What It's just a powerhouse there, and
yeah,
so yeah, I definitely feel that. These women and more like Arosha, they should get the right funding from the
yeah,
right investors, so that they can focus on building their ventures, their
yeah.
businesses.
But they also shouldn't let the lack of entrepreneurial or technical background hold them back.
No, 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 definitely not. At the end of the day, industry knowledge is really important,
Yeah,
and having that knowledge to solve that problem is really important. And then the rest of the team that comes together with you, they will have all different skill sets, and they bring that to the table, so you can grow that way very successfully as well.
sounds like a beautiful place to end. Thanks for the
Okay,
wonderful conversation, Nancy. Really appreciate it. Last
thank
question:
you.
where can find listeners more about you and about tradesnest.com?
Yeah, so if you're a brand or a distributor, so you can come on tradesnest.com, you can sign up for free and we'll help you from there. And if you're just somebody that wants to collaborate with us, definitely reach out on LinkedIn. Or if you are a female founder that is inspired to grow their business, you for sure also can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty much active on LinkedIn, so you can easily reach me there.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nancy. Really appreciate it. All your wisdom and also knowledge. Um,
Thank you
for
so much.
listeners, you can find all of the information in the show notes, and the show notes will be published on womendisruptingtech.blog. There you can also find the contact details of Nancy. And then I hope you'll listen to the next episode again, and I'll see you then. Bye. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for listening. Nancy and I hope that we've managed to inspire you. And if we did, would you let us know via our socials? You can find all the links to the website and social media profiles of tradesnest.com and Nancy Shenouda in the show notes, and you can find those at womendisruptingtech.blog. When you're there, please make sure you subscribe to the Women Disrupting Tech community. This gives you access to exclusive Women Disrupting Tech events, and you are, of course, the first to learn when new episodes go on air. To hear more episodes of this podcast, please follow it on Spotify, Apple, Google, or Goodpods. And if you like what you hear, please give the show a rating or a review. This way, you help spread the word by helping other people find the podcast. Another way to contribute to more diversity in tech is to share this podcast with friends, family, and coworkers. This way, you give my guests the platform they need to make this podcast irrelevant in 10 years from now and women in tech a regular part of business. Finally, feel free to connect with me on the website or via LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, just look up my name. There's only one Dirk Jan Hupkes, so you'll easily find me. That's it for this episode. Thank you for listening, and I hope to hear you in the next episode.